All right, roofers, what's better, retail roofing or insurance restoration? Let's take a look at some of the key differences between the two. Number one, pricing. Retail roofing is going to afford a whole lot more pricing control and subsequently lead to better margins when you utilize things like top-tier products, top-tier services, and exclusive warranties. That's going to allow you to compete with some of the biggest and best in your market, and I think you might be surprised to see what some of these roofing companies are charging, especially in these higher-end demographics. Do yourself a favor, do your research before you just dismiss the idea that it's possible to get $1,000 a square for a roof. That's definitely being charged in a lot of areas across the country, not just for shingles and tar paper, but there are other and better roofing systems out there. Do yourself a favor, learn about that, and start looking into getting these certified systems into your repertoire. That's what's going to allow you an element of exclusivity, but ultimately allow you to drive up your price point. With insurance restoration, you don't control any of that. The insurance carrier controls your price point. You can supplement and do things like better inspections and obviously supplementing, but ultimately retail is going to allow for better price point or more control over your price point and should allow for higher margins. Number two, AR, faster cash flow. Retail moves way quicker. When it comes to retail, you literally just, hey, here's your bid. They say yes, they say no. You take that paperwork, you submit that paperwork into your production team. Production team does the takeoff and they send that order into your manufacturer, your distributor, and you install the work a week later. Maybe not that fast, but it is that fast if you want it to be. Whereas insurance restoration is going to take a long time. We all know insurance restoration can take months. When it comes to cash flow, insurance restoration is going to be very low upfront cost, low upfront risk, especially initially, but in that back end game of trying to manage your expenses, manage cash flow, and we isolate the cash flow portion, period. Retail is superior when it comes to cash flow. Insurance is superior when it comes to upfront cost of getting started. But if we were just focusing on the cash flow aspect, retail is superior, it's cleaner, and it's faster, period. All right, number three, overhead. I'm gonna say this one's a tie because you have retail that's going to have lower back end administrative costs. You know, the insurance process is an absolute pain in the butt, and it's a much bigger compliance risk. Like UPA law, there's a whole set of laws that exist now for contractors like us to tell us what we can and can't say or publish. We'd be considered a public adjuster. It's just an absolute freaking pain in the butt. Nobody wants to deal with it. It doesn't mean that I think that contractors should just give up and let these insurance carriers win. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm simply weighing the pros and cons of retail and insurance. So in this aspect, overhead, well, we also have to consider that retail has a much higher cost per acquisition because they have to consider things like canvassers, paid leads, more ad spend on SEO, more ad spend period, because leads, that's the name of the game when it comes to retail. So I'm gonna say when it comes to overhead, the two are probably equal, maybe even a slight edge to insurance restoration. And that's why you see so many of the insurance restoration companies pop up. At least initially, it's a much easier company to get started because there's little or no overhead, right? You're literally just a guy and a couple of his buddies can get started with a truck and just knocking on doors, offering free inspections and getting the insurance carrier to pay for it. I would say upfront insurance restoration, over time and scale, the two are probably equal when it comes to overhead, especially administrative overhead. Higher customer lifetime value. Retail customers literally are customers that are choosing you. And for whatever reason, when customers decide to choose you and choose to spend their money with you, they're less of a headache. I don't know why that is. I think that when these folks get a steal, maybe they feel like they're entitled to something. I don't know. But I can tell you, if you're a contractor and you've ever experienced that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think retail has a higher customer lifetime value. I think simply because they choose you, and oftentimes retail is going to be a specific model, like roofing, siding, windows, doors, gutters, a higher propensity for repeat customers, in other words. When it comes to insurance, you're going to get a lot of referrals, but there's only so many times these clients can do an insurance claim. Whereas if a retail customer likes you and likes the product they purchased from you, they're much more likely to come back and purchase another one. All right, sustainability. I think retail takes the edge here. That's more predictable and subsequently more sustainable. If there's no storm, what happens? If the insurance carrier decides that they're going to just stop covering roof or change everything and convert it to percentage deductible or whatever, there's this third-party variable that is the insurance carrier that makes this thing a lot harder to navigate, whereas retail is going to allow for easier branding. You don't have to like worry about UPA law or anything like that. You can really get in and brand your company. It allows you to push your products more openly and freely, less compliance issues. Ultimately, it's much more predictable. We're not betting on storms. We're not betting on good relationships with insurance carriers. We're betting on the market and our ability to respond to the market, and ultimately that is going to lead to a much more predictable business. Lastly, risk. My wife is an attorney. Risk is always something I'm thinking about. If you're a business owner, risk is something you should be thinking about. I think that retail obviously takes the cake here. Insurance with, again, UPA law, insurance carriers not being the biggest fans of contractors, period. They certainly don't like paying. I think that not having to have folks on roofs if you're running retail, all of that amounts to far lower risk. And when it comes to retail as a business model, first of all, I'd say it's a significantly lower risk. But ultimately, if we add all these up, retail is definitely taking the cake. There are certainly things like retail is going to have a higher cost per acquisition like we talked about, but ultimately, if you can master retail, it's more sustainable, less risk, you control the margin, you control the numbers. So in the beginning, it's going to be much more difficult, it's going to be much harder, and it's going to cost a lot more in terms of capital. But if you can navigate that and you can get it going, retail is far superior. It's the biggest of the two, believe it or not. You just always see the insurance restoration guys because they're the loudest, but it really is the biggest of the two in terms of market cap, and I think it's far superior, but that's my 2 cents. And I've done both and still do both. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to talk about or anything I forgot or an argument to be made for the other half. Let me know in the comments and we'll discuss it next time.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend.